We all know that feeling of leaving the court and knowing you let some opportunities slip away. One or two better choices, maybe, or some more consistency all around could really level up your game. So we brought in national team member, one of the top scorers in Love this year, Roni Perry. So you can think differently, trust yourself a little bit more, clear up that fog that many attackers get in. So let's learn how to get more kills on Volley IQ. Ronnie's been dominating on the European and now Love circuit, and we are excited to have her. Ronnie, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, pumped to have you. So we'll just jump right in. And I'm like really curious with you coming off like 200 kills in Love,
Mhm.
all of that success, and kind of you've kind of figured out your way in the sport. But like, what are people struggling? Like, what are people missing? What's kind of that like inexperienced player, a younger player? What's just not in their game, and what kind of insight can you give to them?
Ooh, big question. I think something that I was lucky to be told a lot through the early years of my career is to really lean into my strengths. And so for me as a hitter, it wasn't necessarily that I had the best hand on ball, I had the best like control range or anything like that. It was more like my strength as a hitter was, and I think still is, that I could hit the ball high and I could hit the ball hard. And so I think for any young hitter out there, it's like kind of try to find that thing that you feel like separates you a little bit, or maybe the thing that just comes a little bit easier and lean into that first and foremost, always. And then if you can add to it and supplement things in different ways and still work on those things that maybe aren't your strength, so that when there's an opportunity for those things, it's kind of like in your back pocket, front of mind, ready to go. That would be, I guess, my big like chunk of advice.
I love it. So, like, how does a player then balance, a coach saying, hey, why don't you try this? Like, for you, why don't you just mess around with a little bit more line or,
Mhm.
try to create something else? How do you find that balance of, man, I'm probably going to get paid a lot of money to hit ball hard and high.
Yeah.
And then I got to balance my game out to then, go play pro or then go on the national team, go to the Olympics. Like, how do you then dabble in both those worlds?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think that's something for me that kind of ebbs and flows depending on the space that I'm in and like the chunk of the season that I'm in. And if it's like decision making, roster making time, or if we're kind of early in stages where it's like I have a little more freedom to go play and make mistakes and not be scoring a ton of points right then. Um, and then also part of it for me is just staying really clear on what the improvements are that I'm trying to make. Um, and knowing that, yeah, maybe it's not going to feel great right now, but I am going to keep chipping away at this thing that I'm trying to get better at. And then it always just comes down to like most practices are set up in a way where there's times to really tinker in a practice, and
Yeah.
those moments are not necessarily about the outcome. And then you get into some 6-on-6 situations, and it's like, yeah, in that situation, I'm still going to see if I can implement these things. I'm still going to, try to make these changes I'm trying to make, but there's going to be some moments within that competition that I'm just going back to what I know I'm good at and I'm going to score a point, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like this balance of, yes, I'm going to keep working on things, and yes, it's going to feel a little muddy and ugly here and there, and just knowing when it's okay to just lean into that ugliness and let it feel like that and let myself get a little frustrated in it. And when it's time to like, okay, now we're going to be a little bit more heavy on the compete side, and how can I go do what I already know how to do?
Yeah, because I think like players are very much in just one zone. It's
Yeah.
just I'm playing volleyball and they can't really zoom out and be like, all right, this is a different drill than this. Or
Yeah.
I'm competing in a local tournament and I'm competing at nationals. And they don't kind of know the difference. I mean, that might just come with us being like experienced and a little bit older of like, hey, that actually doesn't matter. This matters. But I think, yeah, zooming out and kind of seeing the different realms you're in, like, hey, a lesson can be this, or a clinic can be this, and then finding in those areas, or maybe like your seasons in those areas of the season, then you kind of push and pull as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then just being intentional about it, I think when I have something that I'm really wanting to feel out and work on, it's like I I find more opportunities for it during a practice, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Versus if I get myself into a mindset where I'm really just worried about outcomes, then it's easy for me to just kind of like blow through and attack school or something like that without being really intentional about these things that it's like I'm wanting to implement when it is 6 on 6.
Yep.
So for me, it's like finding those moments during a practice where I can be super intentional so that when it is like full game being played, it's a little bit more comfortable. It's still a little uncomfortable. Like it's always uncomfortable trying something new,
Yep.
but it's a little bit more like, okay, at least I felt myself do this earlier today in practice, or maybe it was a couple days ago or whatever.
Yep.
Instead of it's like we're full on in competition mode in a game or whatever it is.
Yep.
And now I'm trying to do something, but I hadn't been intentional about it when it was a little more controlled.
I love that. And it kind of goes into now that we're zooming out into the season, into those practices and realms, like you've gotten, 60 sets or maybe in Brazil, like even more, right?
Yeah.
Like 60 sets. And now maybe in the national team, because you have a balanced team, you have like 20 or 30 sets. Like,
Yeah.
how do you ebb and flow now from the macro to the micro of like, how do you mess around in those situations of, hey, I'm going to get a lot of sets because I'm getting a lot of kills, or this is my role on the team? How do you kind of create that balance in, hey, I'm going to get like, you don't know that you're going to get 60 sets, but
Yeah.
like, how do you know and kind of flow through, hey, a couple kills, couple errors, couple, neutrals? How do you kind of flow in that, 60 versus 30 and in that real time?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm saying it depends a lot, but it really just kind of does. Like there's moments where it's like I'm getting the ball a lot, and like you said, it's because something's working, or maybe it's just I have a good matchup. And there's certain matches where it's like I'm not going to get set a ton because they have a huge opposite in front of me, or
Yeah.
their strategy is to have their middle step towards me, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And in those moments, it's how locked in can I be? It's still doing the process things the best that I can so that when I do get a ball, I'm still like putting that pressure on their defense. Um, and so I don't know, like there's a moments in games where everything just feels really flowy and it's easy to just go play and I feel like I'm seeing things and we're just going and chipping away. And then the games where it's like a team is just super tough defensively and maybe I'm not getting as many balls and it feels a little choppier. I think that's when I really lean on the things that are helping me be my best at that moment. So sometimes it's something a little more technical in my footwork and sometimes it's just like, hey, go be physical at the end of your approach.
Yep.
Um, and sometimes it's something as simple as like, hey, just be patient. Like maybe the best swing I can take right now is getting the ball back on our side of the court. And
Love
so
it.
just kind of like seeing the game, feeling a situation, and determining kind of which way I need to lean with that, but staying intent that I'm going to do the best that I can with each ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, so if we were to say Ronnie's hitting 400, she's very intentional, she's locked in, and she's flowing. When Ronnie's hitting zero and
Yeah.
she gets pulled, what's the difference? What are you not in control of? What do you give up? How do you rationalize those slumps that you might get in?
Yeah. It's a tough thing. And I think it's kind of a skill that is just constantly being worked on for myself personally. I don't know a lot of people that can, take getting benched on the chin and just feel all good about it, like
Yeah.
it's a battle every time. And I think for me, something that's helpful is just leaning back into the team. And like at the end of the day, I want my team to go be successful. And of course, I have like personal, more selfish goals within that.
Yeah.
But the most important thing for me right now is how can I help my team be great? And so if it's like heat of the moment in the match, I find myself on the bench. My next move is being the best set of eyes that I can be for whoever just went in for me. And I'm telling them what I'm seeing. I'm telling them what I was feeling. I'm telling them whatever I can to try to help them be successful, which is, first of all, hopefully helping them be successful, but it's also keeping me engaged that when I do get an opportunity,
Yeah.
maybe I'm coming in with a little bit fresher perspective on what's happening in the game. Maybe I'm seeing something from the sidelines that I wasn't able to see while I was out on the court.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how this is going to segment like right into all the clips that I kind of pulled up of you. It's just like, ooh, I have this attack, and now we're just going to go into them with all that knowledge, but kind of at just to double down on all of your points. So let's take a look. We're going to go into some film here, and I love it because watching this whole match, you kind of understand what it takes to be a really good outside hitter. Like that roll shot does not feel good, probably. Like
Even watching it right now, I'm like, put something on it.
exactly, but it's
Go
like,
for it.
but then it's a bad pass, right? So it's like all about game management, and I love kind of seeing all of these plays because then you go into this one, you feel a little bit better, but not great. You get a kill because you're being a little bit more aggressive,
Yeah.
um, and then you have the ability to kind of go after that, get a little lucky with the kill, but it's like very intentional.
Hmm.
And then you're here and you're like finally after, six balls or something, like you're finally going into it and being like really aggressive.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of young players maybe like they think that they have to be that aggressive all the time or, beat themselves up even for you just rolling it a little bit easy.
Yeah.
Like what are you thinking when all of these plays are kind of happening? Like what are you noticing your body and your mind going like, hey, I feel it. Oh, I don't feel it. Like, how do you kind of play that game? Maybe it's the patience comment, like you said before.
Yeah. I think one thing that's jumping out, I haven't watched this video in a long time, but just watching it right now, it's like there's a couple opportunities here where I think if I am a little bit more in this mentality of like, I'm going to do everything I can to put myself in a good position to go take an aggressive swing. And then once I do the best that I can with that, then make a decision, and maybe the best position that I can get in is something where it is just going to be a 60% chop at
Yep.
somebody. But like even this ball, like that, it's just
Yeah.
not super efficient footwork. I think
Yeah.
I was caught off guard by Jordan bump setting this pipe. It's not a play she makes often.
Yeah.
Um, but I like watching back the video, I understand why she did it.
Yeah.
And so just being a little bit more ready for that type of situation and
Yeah.
getting myself in a position where it's like I'm actually going to take something that looks like a swing,
Yeah.
and put a little bit more pressure on Annie. Maybe I'm making her hit the ground or something. It really will just simplify our defense. And
Yeah.
that's a situation where it's like, no, I'm not going to swing for a kill, but I'm going to make their job hard.
Yeah. And like I think that we call it as awesome as possible. So just
Yeah.
getting like a little bit more. If it's, a tip can be just a little bit flatter. Can it, if
Yeah.
it's a hard tip, then can it be a roll shot? And I think players, if it's not this sunshine and rainbowy thing, it's then, all right, just a free ball.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh man, you could have done like 10 things that were way better. And maybe
Yeah.
just players understanding that you could do 10 things. And it's not just, hey, I either send a free ball, I roll shot, or I kill. Like they understand kind of like the in-between plays that impact your rallies, like right here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's part of the job as a pin is just to do our best to clean up the junk, you know?
Yep.
And part of that is just really working hard. And I think it's easy to get into a mentality when the game gets a little messy of just like, okay, well, now I'm just managing. And maybe it is, I am just going to manage this ball, but
Yep.
how can I do that in the best way that I can do it and still work my butt off to get myself to where I'm hitting this ball high and hopefully I'm in a position where I can put some decent pace on it if that's the right shot in that moment.
Yeah, I think people when they play good and they get a lot of kills and it's easy or they're dominating like a weaker team, like they think that's the flow, but it's
Yeah.
actually like the flow is in this management and like, hey, go in, hard here, soft here, a little bit better here.
Yeah.
Like that's what I would, kind of scream at someone and be like, this is it. These are like the decisions that you make to impact the whole, rally, set, match. And
Yeah.
then, that libero after, you blowing her up, like on a roll shot, maybe she just goes a little bit deeper and then you get her on a tip later
Yeah.
in that. But if you don't establish something, then it's going to be really hard for them to, you know, get into a routine or like guessing and all that stuff.
Yeah. Totally.
So finally, after all that, you're getting into a little lovely blue paint step, if I do say so
Yeah,
myself.
thank you. Still working on it.
And you get into flow and you just say like, "Hey, I'm gonna hit the crap out of this ball."
Yep.
Like, what do you, after all of that, all that noise, like, all right, good pass, good flow. What are you thinking about?
Against this particular team, I knew if the pass was moving forward, probably their middle was going to be pretty good at getting out there. Stevie, Anna Hall,
Yeah,
she's quick. And so she's someone that even if she's late, I know there's going to be hands out there.
yeah.
And I know that Lauren's a solid blocker, but I also knew if I go attack her high, I'm gonna have a pretty good chance of making something good happen. So that was a lot of the strategy against this team was attacking the outside edge down the line.
Love that. Do you feel like that comes to you only in this situation, or can you kind of cut through the noise and a long rally and be like, ooh, like I need to do this as well, or I have this blocker against me? Is it just here where it slows down, or do you have other places that like you kind of remember?
Just in general.
Yeah, just in general of like that kind of those tips and like or those
Yeah.
strategic things that like because I would always get kind of lost and then I'd be like, all right, what do I need to do? And then I'm already hitting the ball and it would already be like very okay. I would just wonder for my information, like, do you slow the game down in like out of system as well? Do you like when you're transitioning fast, do you kind of know what you're trying to do strategically?
Yeah, so this group, we did a really good job, I think, this season at identifying early kind of what our giveaways are going to be. So if we're in rhythm and we're ready to go for it, it's like we kind of know what blockers want to do. There's certain blockers in out of system who are really going to dive into sharp cross, and so it's a better idea to swing high, flat, deep on them.
Okay.
You have blockers who are always going to really try to wrap the line. So it's like, yeah, maybe you're going to have more room cross. You have blockers that are just going to be a little more straight up on you. So kind of knowing like what their blockers want to do. And then if I feel good about it, go rip,
Yep.
like find whatever space that's going to be, kind of having that in my back pocket a little bit. And then if I'm in a situation in transition where things are getting fast or it's a high ball that I just don't feel like I have a good swing on, what is the best giveaway? And giveaway for us is like, yeah, maybe I'm not going for a kill in this situation, but what's going to give them a hard time? What's going to cause a little bit of chaos on their side of the court? Against this team, it was a lot of trying to get Annie out of the offense in transition.
Okay.
So just trying to get her on the floor or at least sucked in enough to where it's like we have a way simpler time just defending pretty much their go unless they got it in a good enough location to be running their middle. Um, and then part of that too, I guess a little bit less like scouting based. If I know that I've made their outside hitter dig sharp a couple times, then I know that probably they're going to be pretty dug in and I can tip in front of them.
Ah, that's
So
the
it's,
information I like. There we go.
yeah, a little bit of the cat and mouse where it's like set something up, make them respect one thing and then throw in the opposite. And maybe it's the other way around. Maybe I tip a couple times and then I swing at them.
Yep.
So just really trying to make defense work where I can. Granted, it's not like every ball I have sharp cross open, you know? So it's
I
kind
love
of letting the game be what the game is. But if I have opportunity to be playing that like game within the game, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I just think about that LeBron situation a couple like years ago where he just was recalled the last 2 minutes of the whole game. And I think that's what we have as, higher level players is, hey, that happened, and this happened, and this happened, and then this happened. And for a younger player, it's like, oh man, missed the last ball. It's like, but what are you hitting? Are
Yeah.
you hitting like 300 or zero? Are you only going cross? Like having that library of information, I think is so important, but you can't be like head in the sand. You have to be really aware.
Yeah.
All right. So caught out of position here, similar to what we just talked about. You're ripping because
I just feel like this is a ball. First of all, I think it's a great set. It's high, it's inside. Um, and it's just I knew I guess I didn't know. In this type of situation, it's really common for their middle back to be shifting towards one.
okay.
Uh, and is that Stevie blocking?
It looks like it,
Yeah.
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 I like that's a block I know I can't go low against.
Okay.
Um, so it's just kind of one of those, it's like I felt like I had an opportunity to go take a swing. I'm not going for the court really. And if it does land in the court, it's going to be that high flat five. I know
Yep.
they're both shading to the right. So swinging high off the line's probably not the best unless I can really clean tool it. And this is like one of my more comfortable, stronger swings.
Yep.
So, it's just a good opportunity to go lean into my strength. And it also plays well into what I know this defense is going to be doing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So on the opposite of maybe a strength, but
Right.
so here we go. You're in here trying for that line shot. You already got it with a
Yep.
slight kind of tip, like or touch of the block. How do
Yeah.
you then how do you play this cat and mouse? How do you sprinkle in some lines knowing that it might be riskier because your main swing might be that like high, hard, deep cross, and then your
Yep.
second main swing might be like high, hard, like at that middle blockers, right? Pinky, like you're very much to the right. How do you
Yep.
then sprinkle in, hey, I got to go line once in a while, but maybe for you, not as much as like a normal player. So, like,
Yeah.
how do you kind of, hey, I'm working on this, or this is a weak spot? How are you balancing it? We've talked about it a little bit before, but maybe on like a more granular level, like what's actually going on here with you choosing to go?
Yeah. So I think the one that I was successful on, the set was tighter to the net. It's a more safe bet. I feel like if that swing I miss on, usually if I'm air when the ball's tight on that type of ball, it's not a clean air. It's more like they soft block me back onto our side of the court. And so in my
Okay.
mind, that's a risk that's like, yeah, I should be going for that.
Yep.
This one I think is just a bad decision
Okay.
because of how far off the net I'm on. I am. If you're somebody who's like super great at this swing, sure. But I think I'm just really trying to thread a little needle here. Lauren Carlini is a great defender. So if I chop this right in her lap, it's really not causing them a ton of trouble. They're going to be a good high ball offensive team. And because of where I'm at, it's pretty tough for my coverage to get in. Um, so
Yeah.
maybe not the answer you're looking for, but I don't
No,
think
that's
it's a good decision, period.
no, I love it because I'm all about this play. If I saw this, I would, go line 100% of the time and I would get a kill way more. If I did anything you do, I would get blocked all the time. I was not cross court. So for me and maybe just different styles of players, it's kind of, hey, where do you balance? Um, and maybe the answer to like how do you balance your strengths and your weaknesses is making sure if it's a weakness, making sure the situation really matches up to give you the
Exactly.
most odds. You being off maybe 2 feet is a whole different story of hitting line rather than 2 feet on. And it's just like those little things that
Yeah.
kind of you kind of clump them together as a younger player. But us, we like, hey, that's just a bad decision because it's not clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. And then kind of going, back to that as awesome as possible thing that we talk about,
Yeah.
right? It's not Lauren, it's the set. You're going after it like you've talked about, like, hey, you're committed here. You're going up. Like, I love that for a player to kind of understand that's a really good play because
Yeah.
then, you force them into weird situations. You guys get the point off of, a play that's not.
I think we actually end up losing this point.
Oh no, it went into the antenna or
They didn't call it.
oh they didn't.
They didn't call
But let's say in a perfect world where you guys have instant replay,
it.
what like my point being, I love how this play is overlooked
Yeah.
and like, but that's actually what managing the game is just making it a little bit better.
Yeah. I think as a younger player, that's a play that I would be super just like annoyed at myself for making. But the more I play this game, the more I realize like it's it's not always going to be a fancy or like really pretty or whatever. Like sometimes the best play is a really simple tip to the middle of the court, you
Oh,
know? Better would be if I could get Annie to be digging that ball and not their libero. Um,
we all have room to grow, right?
yeah, but it's still causing just enough chaos that it should have been our point.
Yeah, I like the speed. Yeah, I like the speed. There's just so many layers to that play where I like calling that out and just kind of like, hey, what if that is a really great play? And what are the characteristics of that play rather than a younger player going, oh, I just had to tip it. It's like,
Yeah,
whoa, 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 just had to. Like, there's so many different layers to those
yeah,
types of plays.
yeah.
And then finally,
I would just add to that one. It's like
yeah,
that's one of those plays where she's highball setting me on a pipe. Like I'm gonna have three blockers in front of me for sure. And
yeah,
if she sets that ball and I go up and I feel like great on it, then sure I'll rip. But if I'm even a little bit like, man, I don't know, it's just not a high percentage swing if I'm not feeling really, really great. So then the best thing I can do is cause chaos however I can. And in that
yeah.
situation, the tip to the middle is the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's
If,
almost feeling that situation. And if it lines up perfectly,
yeah,
like you get that green light, like wee wee. And then if
yeah,
anything kind of like doesn't get there, you
yeah,
go, not worth it,
yeah,
right? If some players don't have the arm, some players like the set's not in front of the 10-foot line. I
yeah.
think you need to see the situation. And then if something's off, throw the parachute, just go in and try to create chaos.
Yep.
And then I love how this kind of completes the set where all of these things happen. And then finally, it's not super clean, but like this is the only ball that you maybe like hit the ground cleanly. You might get like a finger off a Lauren, but like
Yeah.
I think it's just funny that everybody in hitting lines wants to hit the ball to the ground. And we're talking about right here after a full set, 15, maybe 15 swings, you're finally hitting the ground semi-clean. And I
Yeah.
think it just changes the perspective of a player of, hey, you got to manage the game.
Yeah. And also, I think I used to like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like as young players and even throughout a lot of my college career and things like that, it's like you see people go and just bounce balls and have these super clean kills. And for some reason in your mind, it's like that's worth more than if I rattle it through a block, you know?
Yep.
But then if you're defending and someone is swinging off of your blockers constantly and scoring off of that, that's so much more frustrating. And so I think like just trying to give up this idea that the best kills are the ones that are just clean without being touched by anybody is super helpful. And like go play with the blockers, frustrate them, and you'll get your clean kills when you have that look. But more often than not, you're gonna have four hands in your face, so use them.
I love that. All right. Now that we saw the film, Ronnie Jones Perry, give us this kind of, hey, you need to be focusing on this if you're a younger, more experienced attacker. Kind of like, what are your things that, hey, we know the struggles. What are people going into next practice or next open gym and trying to work on?
Yeah, I think there's always room to clean up the little things, whether it's your footwork or your arms or something. I think just if you have access to be able to watch some video, watch on yourself. If not, just really pay attention to what you're feeling yourself doing. You can always work on those things. So for me, like right now, it's a lot of just still trying to have the good like loose posture on my first two steps in my approach, really feeling my whole foot on the ground. And then um the next piece of that for me right now is identifying a set and then being as physical as I can into the set. I think something that all attackers, not just on the pins, but I think middles could benefit from too, is knowing that you like part of your job still, no matter how fast you're running an offense or how slow you're running an offense, is you need to see the set and adjust to it the best that you can.
Yeah.
So I think if it's a high ball situation, obviously there's a lot of that that just goes on the pin. Like it's your job to get your feet there and go swing high and hard. but there's also a piece of it in system too, where it's like you need to be on whatever step your tempo is and still see the game develop and then go do your best to adjust to that ball. Um, and that's kind of that builds in that good slow to fast and that finishing physical that is super beneficial and just having some power behind your swing. So I think just lumping that, it's just, find ways to keep working on the small technical things. Um, and then I think just playing with the toolbox, seeing how many different swings you can find, knowing what your bread and butter is, and then finding little things to complement that. And then throughout a practice, knowing when is the time that I can go and really try things, and it's okay to be making a little bit of, higher percentage of errors right now, and it's okay if I'm getting blocked a little bit more right now. And then knowing when it's time in practice to kind of lean a little bit more into your bread and butter, but still be looking for those opportunities and trying to take a few risks when it's time for that. And even within a game, like if you have a pretty decent lead, then take some risks. Go for things that are going to make you better when there's that little bit of pressure put on you.
Yep.
And then when your back's against the wall, just go be the best player that you already are.
Yeah, I love this because I'm kind of getting goosebumps like thinking about my first 2 years overseas. And I didn't know who I was. I didn't know I was a primary like line block out. I was trying to make these big swings cross with like no vertical and no arm. And then I didn't have the toolbox. I wasn't very aware of, hey, the setter's here. And are they bump setting or hand setting? And what's the trajectory going to be? If it does go in, what are they like? What's the best decision out of there? I was just like, see ball, hit ball. And
Yeah.
then at like 25, 26, I started going like, oh, I'm in Poland, messing around with different arm swings, learning from other players that do it way different than me. And I
Yeah.
think it's just funny hearing you say that. I'm like, man, if you gave me that information, like anytime before 23, I would have been like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, same. And I think something for me that I wish I had kind of connected earlier is like your coaches are there to help you grow, and it should feel like a collaboration. And some
Love it.
coaches maybe don't feel that way. And so it's like you always got to feel out your coach and your person and whoever it is you're working with. But I think 95% of people, if you go in and you're talking to them and you're like, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm feeling, here's where I want my game to go, they're going to help you do that. Where I think a lot of times as young athletes, it's really easy to just be like trying to get a good job from your coach and like just being that like coach pleasing type person, because that's me through and through naturally.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I wish that I had learned a little bit earlier that the best way for me to grow is to kind of push and ask questions and think for myself and then ask for help along this path that I'm trying to go down.
Yeah.
So I think if young athletes can do that now and watch like older players or maybe someone their own age and just be like, that's something I want to implement in my game, and decide for yourself, like, what is it you want your game to look like? And what are the things that you're already doing great that you can build that off of? And then use your coaches as support to do that instead of somebody that you're trying to impress all the time.
You kind of said it, but like this is like a little bonus content right now. This is for like the knowledge out there, everybody. Like you look at the game very differently. If you look at your workouts with Austin Einhorn, right? You and I worked together while you were in Brazil, and like you allow yourself to get into the space of a little bit more uncomfortable, a little bit like, hey, I don't know the answer, or like at least it's more collaborative. And a lot of players are like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure it out on my own. Like you're outside of the box and like, how do you get there? Or how did you get there? I know that you said like asking more questions, but what are those feelings? How did you work through those feelings? Because I think that's what I've found out, and I think players need to find out is that switch of, whoa, it's not about here, it's about here.
Yeah. I think a big part of it for me was just realizing um at the end of the day, I think national team it's a stressful space, and it was something that I like really beat myself up over a lot because I wasn't getting the invites that I was hoping for and I wasn't making rosters that I was hoping to make. And I think I eventually just got to a point where I'm like, there is a group of coaches doing the best that they can to put together the best team that they can. And the fact that I'm not within that group doesn't mean I'm not a good player. It means I don't fit their group.
Yep.
And so once I kind of made that realization, and it's hard and it's a little twofold because it's like, yeah, I don't fit their group. And probably part of that is because I'm not good enough at certain areas of my game. And that's just at the
Yep.
end of the day, that's what it is, you know? And so being able to take that, but not letting it make me feel like I'm not a good player. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so for me, I think that was what really pushed me to start getting down that path. And instead of feeling like I need to be the type of player that this coach wants in his gym, and turning it more into of a, if I never get invited into that gym ever, what do I want my volleyball to look like? What do I want to leave the sport feeling like I did? Um, and that's kind of, and that was honestly was probably within the last like year and a half ish. It was right around the time that I came out to Colorado and was working with you in Austin.
I love
And
it.
I think both of you guys kind of think outside the box that way anyway. And so it was just this cool combination of where I was at in my career and in life, paired with just really great people that were all for it and like helping me figure out what it is I wanted that to look like. Um,
That's
so yeah, I think
that's super
for a
cool.
young player, it's just the reflection and being willing to get uncomfortable and have conversations with people you trust.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining Volley IQ. Good luck, national team, and a busy summer. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you in love again, maybe.
Yes, sir. I'll be back.
All righty. Thanks again, Ronnie.
Thanks, AJ.
See ya.